Two NFL superstars just became available in the last 24 hours, and that begs the question, should the LA Rams make a trade for either one of these players in hopes of making a Super Bowl push in 2025? What is up, guys? Welcome back into another Rams House video. Thank you so much for stopping into today's video. So if you didn't know, both Terry McLaurin and Micah Parsons requested trades over the last 24 hours after ongoing contract discussions going south for both of them. I would say more so for Micah Parsons than it is for Terry McLaurin. Both of them, though, have requested a trade, and this has naturally led us to wondering if the Rams should acquire either of them. Now, full transparency, I'm more open to one of these players coming to the Rams than the other. And I'm just going to get the one out of the way that I don't think the Rams should do right away. Okay, so Terry McLaurin is a player a lot of Rams fans are wanting to see come to the LA Rams, but to me, it does not make much sense. So in September, Terry McLaurin is going to be turning 30 years old. It's kind of crazy to me. It feels like he's a younger receiver, but he's going to be turning 30 years old, and he's already waiting for his contract extension. So not only would the Rams have to make the trade to acquire Terry McLaurin, and who knows what that would entail, maybe a first-round pick, a second-round pick, who knows really what the compensation would be, but it'd be pretty expensive. And then on top of that, you'd have to give him a new contract as he's going into his age 30 season, and that just does not make a lot of sense to me. While I'm a big fan of Terry McLaurin's game, and he's definitely a very good receiver in the NFL, I just don't see why we would be able to justify paying another receiver in this Rams offense when you already brought in Davante Adams, who is over 30, who I think is going to have a big year. And then you have Nakua coming down the line who's about to get paid. That's already a lot of money that would be allocated to the wide receiver room. And then we even brought Tutu Atwell back this offseason on a $10 million one-year deal to hopefully use him in the offense a little bit more. So I don't really know why you'd bring in Terry McLaurin when you already got a lot of different mouths to feed. And that's just talking about the wide receivers. I really like the Rams' depth that they have at wide receiver also. So I don't think that the Rams really need a receiver as good as Terry McLaurin is. It would be more of a luxury than would it be a need for the Rams. Would Terry McLaurin help the Rams in their Super Bowl pursuits this year? Absolutely, but also, I don't really know how much he could be used when you already have Puka Nakua, when you already have Tutu Atwell, when you already have Davante Adams, obviously. Jordan Whittington's expected to take a big leap. And you got Tyler Higbee, Terrence Ferguson, and you got the run game still. So there's just like a lot of mouths to feed. It doesn't make sense to me to give up that kind of capital as well as giving him the money that he is going to be wanting at this point. And I already kind of touched on it, but the Rams already have some really young, promising players that they are going to be having to pay over the next couple of years. That'd be nice to have the money for, and that's guys like Kobe Turner, Kyren Williams, Puka Nakua, Steve Avila, Jared Verse, and I'm sure there's going to be many more down the line to have to pay. You can't pay everybody, and so I would much rather save the money when you already have a good wide receiver core. Why would you bring in a receiver who's going to be turning age 30, giving him a big contract when you already got a good room kind of developed already? So in my opinion, the Rams' Super Bowl hopes do not hinge on Terry McLaurin and getting him to LA. In fact, I think it could almost hold us back a little bit just because of how many weapons we'd have, and I don't know how the target shares would go and all of that. So I would just say a big no on Terry McLaurin. I don't want him coming to the Rams. We'll see what ends up happening with him though. Okay, the last guy we're going to talk about today is Micah Parsons. He did request a trade over the last 24 hours, got frustrated with the contract negotiations, and has taken some personal shots from the Cowboys organization. So should the Rams bring him in? To me, this situation is a lot more of a gray area than Terry McLaurin is. For me, just personally, it seems like you could go one of two ways on if the Rams should do it or not. So just talking about the good things with Micah Parsons. Obviously, he is one of the top pass rushers in the league, and he has been since entering the league. He's only 26 years old, and he is very much in the midst of his prime, and very much even still developing, because he started off not as just an every down pass rusher. And so you still have a lot of upside with Micah Parsons as well, with just how good he is right now. And if you paired Micah Parsons up with our defensive front, like, that is just crazy. If you think about Jared Verse and Micah Parsons on either end, and then Kobe Turner, Poona Ford, and Braden Fisk in the middle, it would just be nasty. I mean, you could make a great argument that the Rams would have the best pass rushers in the league if they did that. And that would definitely be a crazy move to make, and that would just push the Rams' Super Bowl hopes even more and make them even more of a contender. And the good thing with Micah Parsons is if you brought him in, he would help for this year in this window pushing for the Super Bowl, but also for the years to come. He's a piece that you could really build around. That's a good thing as opposed to Terry McLaurin, where maybe you have a little bit of a shorter window. You could actually have a longer window with Micah Parsons and build around him for this year and the years to come. But in my opinion, some of the bad things with bringing Micah Parsons in is kind of similar to McLaurin in the way of you would have to give up crazy draft capital to get Micah Parsons, with just like where he's at in his career right now, how good he's been, how young he still is. And on top of that, you'd have to pay him a contract that is likely north of $40 million a year. When you look at guys like Myles Garrett and TJ Watt, what they've gotten, that is around the range. So you would have to pay him a massive contract, as well as giving up potentially one or two of your first round picks picks, maybe even a player. And so when you look at that, it would be crazy expensive to bring in a player like him. And then kind of going back to what I talked about with Terry McLaurin, I don't know if this necessarily fits the timeline for the Rams, because you got guys again like Kyren Williams, Kobe Turner, Jared Verse, Puka Nacua. You got these guys, Steve Avila, who are just coming down the line that are going to need to be paid, and taking that huge chunk to give to Micah Parsons when you're going to have to give that to Jared Verse pretty soon and all those other guys. I just don't know if it makes a ton of sense. Now, Micah Parsons would absolutely be a blast to watch on the Los Angeles Rams, and I wouldn't necessarily say I would be completely opposed to it happening. But I think you're going to have to sacrifice one of those players in the future, like a Kobe Turner, a Braden Fisk, a Kyren Williams. Any of these young guys that are coming up to be paid right now, you may have to sacrifice one or two of those guys if you want to bring in Micah Parsons, just because you can't pay everybody. To me, in my personal opinion, I would just rather stay with the squad that we got right now, keep our 2 first-round picks, save the money for the future to pay to these young guys that we got coming up. I think that Micah Parsons would be a huge add to the defense, but I don't think it's a necessity. I think the Rams defense is already really good, already trending up. They're figuring things out in the back half of the year. Their pass rush is already really good. I think Byron Young's being a little bit underrated to what he can do. Yes, it would be great to have Micah Parsons, but I don't think it's a necessity. Same thing with Terry McLaurin. I don't think our Super Bowl hopes hinge on Micah Parsons coming to the Rams. I think that would be more of a luxury and a crazy addition, but it would come with sacrifices of giving up some players that we would want to keep around. And in my opinion, we already have our Micah Parsons of the defense on the Rams for years to come in Jared Verse, and he's the guy I think that we should build the defense around, as well as Kobe Turner. And I don't think you necessarily need 2 alphas on either end, and to pay both of those, that would almost be like what the Bengals did with paying T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and having those 2 guys getting paid a crazy amount of money on the offensive side. It's like, would you need to allocate all that money and all the funds into just 2 players? I don't necessarily see it, especially with how good the Rams roster is. But honestly, I don't know what you guys think, so definitely let me know in the comments down below, and leave a like on this video, as that gets this video out to more people like you guys. As for me, I'm Rams House. Horns up and God bless.